The prison guard who came for Gemma Laurent at midnight wasn't human, and she knew her time had run out. She'd been rotting in this cell for 3 months accused of a crime she didn't commit, framed by people whose faces she'd never even seen. The evidence had been flawless. DNA at the scene, security footage doctored so perfectly that even she had doubted herself for one terrible moment. But Gemma knew the truth. She'd been chosen, selected, offered up like a sacrifice to something the human justice system didn't even know existed. The guard's eyes reflected the dim light like a cat's, pale and otherworldly. He didn't speak, just opened the cell door with a key that looked centuries old, ornate and silver. Gemma's cellmate, a woman who'd killed her abusive husband, pressed herself against the far wall and whimpered. Gemma Laurent, the guard said, his voice carrying an accent she couldn't place. Old European, maybe. Something that predated modern borders. You've been summoned. Her heart hammered against her ribs, but she stood. She'd known this was coming. The whispers had started weeks ago, other inmates talking about people who vanished in the night, about deals made in darkness, about the pale ones who came when the moon was dark. She'd dismissed it as prison mythology, until she'd seen one herself, a visitor moving through the corridor with inhuman grace, and she'd understood with cold certainty that monsters were real. They walked through corridors she'd never seen before, descending deeper beneath the prison. The air grew colder with each step, and the electric lights gave way to torches that burned with flames that cast no smoke. Other guards appeared, all of them with that same ethereal quality, too beautiful, too still, too pale. Finally, they reached a door carved from what looked like obsidian. The guard knocked 3 times and the door opened silently. The room beyond defied physics. It was vast, a hall that couldn't possibly fit beneath the prison, with vaulted ceilings that disappeared into shadow and walls lined with tapestries depicting battles between creatures with fangs and humans with swords. At the far end, on a throne that seemed to be carved from a single piece of black marble, sat a man who made every instinct in Gemma's body scream both danger and fascination. He was beautiful in the way that winter was beautiful, cold, lethal, absolute. His hair fell past his shoulders in waves of pure white, contrasting sharply with skin so pale it seemed to glow in the torchlight. His features were aristocratic, sharp cheekbones and a strong jaw, lips that looked like they'd been carved by an artist obsessed with perfection. But it was his eyes that held her, red as fresh blood, ancient as continents, and fixed on her with an intensity that made her feel stripped bare. "Gemma Laurent," he said, and his voice was silk over steel. "Do you know who I am?" She wanted to lie, to pretend ignorance, but something about those eyes demanded truth. "You're a vampire." A smile ghosted across his lips, revealing just a hint of fang. "Not just a vampire. I am Konstantin Vladislavovich, king of the northern courts, lord of the eternal night, keeper of the blood laws." He rose from his throne with fluid grace, descending the steps toward her. "And you, little human, have something I want." Gemma forced herself to hold his gaze even as he approached. Up close, he was even more overwhelming, tall enough that she had to tilt her head back, radiating power that made the air feel thick. "I don't have anything. I'm a prisoner. I lost everything. Not everything." He circled her slowly, and she felt his gaze like a physical touch. "You have information. You worked for Marcus Chen before your unfortunate incarceration. You processed his accounts, managed his files, saw things you weren't supposed to see." Her blood ran cold. Marcus Chen, her former boss at the import-export company, that had turned out to be a front for something much darker. She'd stumbled onto encrypted files 3 months before her arrest, files that mentioned blood shipments and territorial agreements, and names that sounded like they came from medieval history books. "I don't know anything," she said, but her voice wavered. Konstantin stopped directly in front of her, so close she could feel the unnatural cold radiating from him. "Lie to me again, and I'll know. I can hear your heartbeat, smell the fear in your blood, taste the deception on your tongue." He tilted his head, studying her. "Marcus Chen has been stealing from me, intercepting blood shipments meant for my court, selling them on the black market to rogue vampires who refuse to follow our laws. He's been using human companies, human accounts, human names to hide his tracks. But you saw something. You know something. And I need that information. Why should I help you?" The words came out before she could stop them, reckless and defiant. "You're a monster. He might be a criminal, but at least he's human." Something flickered in those red eyes, surprise perhaps, or amusement. "Monster," he repeated, tasting the word. "Yes, I suppose I am. But I'm a monster who keeps order, who ensures that humans like you don't become random prey for younger, hungrier creatures who lack control. Marcus Chen's actions are destabilizing everything. Vampires who can't get blood through legal channels will take it by force. Humans will die, many humans, all because one greedy man saw an opportunity for profit. Gemma wanted to dismiss his words as manipulation, but there was a ring of truth to them. She'd seen the news reports over the past months, a spike in disappearances, bodies found drained, attacks that the media blamed on a new drug trend but that now made horrifying sense. What do you want from me? Tell me what you saw in those files. Help me find proof of Chen's theft. Give me the evidence I need to bring him before the Blood Council. And in exchange, your freedom. He said it simply, as if it were obvious. Your conviction overturned, your record cleared, your life returned. It was everything she wanted, everything she'd prayed for during 3 months of hell. But nothing came without a price, especially not from monsters. What's the catch? That smile again, sharper this time. Clever girl, the catch is this. I need the information tonight. Chen is moving his operations, covering his tracks. In 3 days he'll disappear into the wind and I'll lose my chance to stop him. So you must give me everything now, immediately, from memory. That's impossible. I saw those files once, months ago. I can't remember specific account numbers, or you can and you will. He extended one pale hand. But not like this, not with your mortal limitations. I need you to remember perfectly, completely. And for that I need your blood. Terror spiked through her. You want to kill me? No. He shook his head slowly. I want to taste your memories. It's an old magic, one that requires consent. If you allow me to drink from you just a small amount, I can see what you saw. Remember what you remember. Every detail will be preserved in your blood. And then what? You drain me dry anyway? Anger flashed across his face, cold and terrible. I am not some feral creature who slaughters indiscriminately. I am a king, bound by laws older than your civilization. If you consent to this exchange, I will take only what I need, and I will give you exactly what I promised. Your freedom, your life, your future. Gemma's mind raced. Could she trust him? Could she trust any of this? But what choice did she have? Spend the rest of her life in prison for a crime she didn't commit, or take a chance with a monster who at least offered hope? If I do this, she said slowly, I want more than just freedom. His eyebrows rose, genuine surprise crossing his features. You dare to negotiate with me? You need what I know, that gives me leverage. Her voice was steadier now, conviction building. I want protection. If Chen is as dangerous as you say, he'll come after me the moment he realizes I helped you. I want your guarantee that I'll be safe. Konstantin studied her for a long moment, those red eyes seeming to pierce through to her soul. Then, unexpectedly, he laughed, a rich, genuine sound that transformed his face from beautiful to breathtaking. You have courage, Gemma Laurent. Foolish courage perhaps, but courage nonetheless. Very well, I agree to your terms. My protection for as long as you need it. I want it in writing. A contract. We have something better than contracts. He held out his hand again. A blood oath, unbreakable, bound by magic older than human law. Betray me and you'll die. Fail to protect you and I'll suffer torment beyond imagining. Do we have an accord? She looked at his outstretched hand, pale and elegant, tipped with nails that were just slightly too sharp. This was insane. Everything about this was insane. But she'd been living in insanity for 3 months, and at least this version offered hope. Gemma placed her hand in his. His skin was cold as winterstone, but his grip was gentle. The oath must be sealed with blood, he said softly. I'll make this as painless as possible. Before she could tense, he'd raised her wrist to his mouth. His fangs pierced her skin with a sharp sting that immediately melted into something else, warmth that spread up her arm, strange euphoria that made her knees weaken. She gasped, and his other arm came around her waist, steadying her. The world tilted, colors bleeding together, and suddenly she was remembering the office. Late nights. The encrypted files she'd accidentally accessed when her computer crashed and rebooted into Chen's private server. Account numbers scrolling past. Shipping manifests. Names. Addresses. Blood types marked with clinical precision. Everything flooding back with perfect clarity. When Konstantin released her wrist, she swayed and he guided her to a chair that she hadn't noticed before. The puncture wounds were already closing, healing with impossible speed. I see, he murmured, his eyes distant, processing. I see everything. He's been more ambitious than I realized, not just theft but building his own network, planning to challenge the courts themselves. Gemma's head swam, but through the fog she managed to ask, So you have what you need? Yes. He refocused on her, and something in his expression had changed, softened. You've given me a gift beyond measure, Gemma Laurent. The oath is sealed. You are under my protection now, bound to me until this matter is resolved. How long will that take? Days, perhaps a week. Chen must be found, tried, and dealt with according to our laws. Until then, you cannot return to your world. He has eyes everywhere, and the moment you're released from prison, he'll know. He'll kill you to silence what you know. The reality of her situation crashed over her. She'd traded one prison for another. So what happens to me now? You stay here, in my court, under my watch. He stood commanding and absolute. I will provide everything you need, quarters, food, clothing. You'll be treated as a guest, not a prisoner. But you cannot leave these halls until Chen is no more. A guest who can't leave is still a prisoner. A prisoner I could have simply killed once I had what I needed, he countered, but there was no threat in his voice. Just statement of fact. Instead, I honor our bargain, more than honor it. I offer you safety in a world you never knew existed. Two guards appeared from the shadows, more vampires, both with that same pale, otherworldly beauty. Escort Miss Laurent to the eastern guest chambers, Konstantin commanded. See that she has everything she requires. As the guards moved to flank her, Gemma found herself asking, "Will I see you again?" Konstantin's red eyes met hers, and for a moment she saw something flicker there. Curiosity, perhaps, or interest. "Oh yes, little mortal, you will see me again. I find myself intrigued by you." It's not often that a human negotiates with a vampire king and lives to tell the tale. The guards led her away, through more impossible corridors, past chambers filled with vampires who watched her with hunger and curiosity in equal measure. Finally, they arrived at a door of polished wood, and one of the guards opened it to reveal a room that made her prison cell look like the hell it was. The chamber was vast, decorated in rich velvets and dark woods, with a bed large enough to sleep 5 people and windows that showed not the prison above, but a night sky filled with stars she'd never seen before. A wardrobe stood against one wall, and when she opened it, she found clothes in her exact size, ranging from practical to elegant. "How?" she whispered. "Magic," one of the guards said simply. "The king's will shapes reality here. He knew your measurements the moment he tasted your blood. He knows everything about you now." That should have terrified her. Instead, she felt a strange shiver that wasn't entirely fear. The guards left, and Gemma found herself alone for the first time in months. Truly alone, no cellmate, no constant surveillance, no threat of violence from other inmates. She should have felt relieved. Instead, she felt untethered, lost in a world that shouldn't exist. She moved to the window, pressing her hand against the glass. It was cool to the touch, solid, real. Beyond it, the sky swirled with colors that Earth's sky never held, deep purples and greens, stars that moved in patterns that suggested intelligence. "You're not under the prison anymore," a voice said from behind her. Gemma spun to find Konstantin standing in the doorway. She hadn't heard him enter, hadn't heard the door open. "Where am I?" "My realm. We call it the Shadow Veil. It exists alongside your world, overlapping but separate. A place where night never ends and my kind has ruled for millennia." He stepped into the room and the door closed silently behind him. "You're safe here, safer than you've ever been, safe in a realm of vampires. That's an oxymoron, is it?" He moved to the window, standing beside her but not crowding her space. "In your world you were imprisoned for a crime you didn't commit, abandoned by a system that was supposed to protect you. Here you're under the protection of the most powerful vampire in the Northern Hemisphere. Which reality is more dangerous?" She had no answer for that. They stood in silence for a moment, both looking out at the impossible sky. Finally, Konstantin spoke again, his voice quieter. "I've lived for 700 years, Gemma Laurent. I've seen empires rise and fall, watched humanity evolve from feudal societies to whatever it is you've become now. And in all that time, I've rarely encountered a human who faced me without either begging or fainting. Maybe I'm just stupid. No, you're brave and strategic, and remarkably composed considering your circumstances." He turned to look at her, and in the starlight his features seemed softer, less severe. "Tell me, why did you look at those files? When you realized they were encrypted, why didn't you simply close them and walk away?" "Curiosity, stupidity, take your pick." "I think it was conscience," he said. "I think you saw something wrong and you couldn't ignore it, even when ignoring it would have kept you safe. A lot of good that did me. It brought you to my attention. That may yet prove fortunate for both of us." Before she could ask what he meant, he stepped back. "I'll leave you to rest. Tomorrow I must convene the Blood Council to present evidence against Chen. The process will take time, and I'll need to be focused. But I'll send someone to check on you, ensure you have everything you need." Wait. She didn't know why she called out to him, didn't understand the sudden reluctance to be alone. "How did you know about me? How did you know I'd seen those files?" A slight smile curved his lips. "I have eyes everywhere, including in human prisons. When Chen had you framed and imprisoned, it drew my attention. I had my people investigate, and they discovered you'd accessed his private server shortly before your arrest. It wasn't difficult to piece together the rest. So you've been watching me for 3 months. Protecting you for 3 months," he corrected. "You think it was chance that kept you safe from the more violent inmates? That your cell was isolated, your meals untampered with? I've had guards here ensuring nothing happened to you until I could retrieve you myself." The revelation stunned her. All this time she'd thought she'd just been lucky. Why? Because you have something I need. And because, he paused, seeming to choose his words carefully, because I don't approve of innocents suffering for crimes they didn't commit, even human innocence. With that he was gone, moving so fast she didn't see him leave, only the door closing with a soft click. Gemma sank onto the bed, her mind reeling. She was in another realm, protected by a vampire king, bound to him by a blood oath she didn't fully understand. Her life had become a fairy tale, but she couldn't tell if it was the kind with happy endings or the kind where the princess got eaten by the wolf. Sleep should have been impossible, but exhaustion pulled her under, and she dreamed of red eyes and cold hands and a voice like silk promising safety in the darkness. She woke to find a young woman, another vampire, judging by the pale skin and graceful movements, setting a tray of food on the table near the window. "Good morning, Miss Laurent," the woman said with a slight bow. "I'm Isolde, assigned to attend to your needs during your stay. The king requests your presence in the council chambers this afternoon, but until then, you're free to explore the public areas of the castle." This is a castle? The winter court seat of power, the king's primary residence. Isolde moved to the wardrobe, pulling out a dress of deep burgundy that looked like it belonged in a museum. This would be appropriate for the council session. Formal but not ostentatious. "The vampires will be judging you. Why do I need to attend? He already has what he needs from me. The king wishes you to testify, to confirm what you saw, to validate the memories he extracted. The Blood Council requires human testimony in matters that directly affect human-vampire relations." Dread settled in Gemma's stomach. The idea of standing before a council of ancient vampires, all of them staring at her with those predatory eyes, made her want to crawl back into bed. But she'd made a deal, and breaking it wasn't an option. After Isolde left, Gemma ate, finding the food surprisingly normal. Human fare that suggested Konstantin kept human servants, or at least understood human needs. Then she dressed, struggling with the complicated fastenings of the burgundy gown, until another knock at the door announced Isolde's return to help. "You look lovely," Isolde said, adjusting the dress's neckline. "Quite lovely. The king has excellent taste. He chose this? He chooses everything in these chambers. Every dress, every piece of furniture, every book on those shelves. He prepared this room specifically for you days ago." The thought of Konstantin selecting dresses for her, imagining her in them, sent a strange flutter through her chest. "How long have you served him?" 200 years, give or take. "He turned me when I was dying of plague, gave me a second life I never asked for but have come to cherish." Isolde's expression was fond. "He's a good king. Stern, but fair. Protective of those he considers his. And am I his? For now, until the oath is fulfilled." Isolde stepped back, examining her work. "Come, it's time." The council chambers made the throne room look modest. The space was circular, ringed with tiered seating that rose toward a domed ceiling painted with scenes of vampire history. At the center stood Konstantin, looking every inch the king in armor like clothing of black leather and silver chains. Around him sat 12 vampires, each one radiating power that made Gemma's skin prickle. "Gemma Laurent," Konstantin's voice echoed through the chamber. "Approach." She walked forward on shaking legs, acutely aware of every eye upon her. The vampires watched her the way wolves watched prey, with calculation and hunger barely restrained. "This is the human?" one of them asked, an older-looking vampire with silver-white hair and scars across his face. "She looks like she'd break if I breathed on her wrong." "Appearances deceive, Draven," Konstantin replied coolly. "This human has more spine than many vampires I've encountered. She negotiated with me. She demanded terms. She survived 3 months in a human prison without breaking." "And you claim she holds evidence of Marcus Chen's theft?" another counselor asked, this one a woman with eyes like chips of ice. "I have her memories. I will share them with you now, if the council permits." What followed was unlike anything Gemma had ever experienced. Konstantin extended his hand toward the council, and suddenly the air between them shimmered. Images appeared, floating like holograms, the files she'd seen, the account numbers, the shipping manifests. Her memories, pulled from her blood and made visible for all to witness. The council members leaned forward, studying the evidence with intense focus. Gemma stood frozen, watching her own stolen moments played back like a movie, narrated by Konstantin's deep voice as he explained what each piece meant. "As you can see, Chen has been systematically intercepting our blood shipments for the past 2 years. He's resold them to rogue vampires at triple the price, using human corporations to launder the money. He's made millions while our people have gone hungry, while young vampires have been driven to attack humans out of desperation." "This is treason," the scarred vampire growled. "By our oldest laws, the penalty is death by sunlight." "I agree," Konstantin said. "But first we must find him. His operations have disappeared. The addresses in these files are now empty buildings. He knew we were closing in, then send hunters. Track him down. End this. I intend to. But I wanted the council to see the evidence first to sanction the hunt officially. Chen has allies among the southern courts. If I move against him without proper authority, it could trigger a larger conflict. The female counselor nodded slowly. You have the council's blessing, Konstantin Vladislavovich. Find Marcus Chen. Bring him to justice. And protect the human who helped us uncover his crimes. She's proven herself worthy of our protection. The other council members murmured agreement, and Gemma felt a weight lift from her chest. She was officially under their protection now, not just Konstantin, safer at least in theory. The human will remain here until Chen is dealt with, Konstantin declared. I will personally guarantee her safety. How generous of you, the scarred vampire said dryly. To keep a pretty human girl in your private chambers. I'm sure it's purely for her protection. Konstantin's expression went deadly cold. Careful, Draven. Your jealousy is showing and it doesn't become you. The tension in the room spiked, but before it could escalate, the female counselor stood. This session is concluded. Hunt well, my king. And Miss Laurent, you have our gratitude. It's rare for a human to aid our kind. Rarer still for one to do so with such courage. The council dispersed, vampires vanishing like smoke, until only Konstantin and Gemma remained in the vast chamber. You did well, he said, approaching her. I know that wasn't easy. They looked at me like I was food. You are food, he said bluntly. To them, to most vampires. But you're also useful, which makes you valuable. And value equals protection in our world. That's a depressing worldview. It's a realistic one, he gestured toward the door. Come, I'll show you more of the castle. You'll be here for several days at least, and you shouldn't feel like a prisoner. He led her through corridors that seemed to shift and change, past rooms filled with treasures from 1,000 different eras. Libraries with books in languages she couldn't read. Armories with weapons that gleamed with more than reflected light. Gardens that grew under a sky that never saw sun, flowers blooming in shades of midnight blue and deep purple. It's beautiful, she admitted, watching something like a butterfly but made of shadow flit between blossoms. Terrifying but beautiful. That's the shadow veil. That's my world. He plucked one of the flowers, twirling it between his fingers. 700 years I've lived here, ruled here, fought to maintain order and peace between our kind and yours. It's a lonely existence sometimes. Don't you have, I don't know, a vampire queen? A court full of admirers? He laughed, that same rich sound that transformed him. I've had companions over the centuries, lovers even, but a queen? No. The position requires more than affection or attraction. It requires trust, partnership, shared vision. I've yet to find a vampire who could stand beside me as an equal. They walked in silence for a while, and Gemma found herself relaxing despite the strangeness of her surroundings. Konstantin was easier to talk to than she'd expected. Less monstrous and more human in some ways. He pointed out features of the castle, told her stories of battles fought and peace treaties signed, spoke of vampire politics with the weariness of someone who'd seen it all. Why do you care, she asked suddenly. About order, about peace, you're the king. You could rule through fear and violence. I could, he agreed. And for the first century of my immortal life I did. I was a terror, Gemma. A monster in the truest sense. I killed without thought, took what I wanted, reveled in my power. His expression darkened with memory. But immortality gives you time to see the consequences of your actions, the suffering you cause, the cycles of revenge and hatred. Eventually I grew tired of blood and screaming. I wanted something more. So I built this court, established laws, created a structure that would protect both vampires and humans. You're trying to redeem yourself, perhaps. Or perhaps I'm just old enough to understand that peace is harder than war and therefore more valuable. He stopped walking, turning to face her fully. You remind me of someone I knew once, long ago. She had your courage, your defiance in the face of power. What happened to her? She died. They all die eventually. Humans are so terribly fragile. There was genuine sadness in his voice, the weight of centuries of loss. It's the curse of immortality. Everyone you care for crumbles to dust while you remain unchanging. That sounds horrible. It is. But it's also why every moment matters. Why every connection, however brief, is precious. His hand came up, almost touching her face but stopping just short. Why I find myself drawn to a human prisoner who should mean nothing to me but has somehow become the most interesting person I've encountered in decades. Her breath caught. The air between them felt charged, dangerous, electric. I'm just a girl who got caught in something she didn't understand. You're more than that. You have to be, or I wouldn't feel like this. Like what? Like I want to know everything about you. Your history. Your dreams, the things that make you laugh. Like I want to protect you not because of our deal but because the thought of harm coming to you makes me feel something I haven't felt in a very long time. What's that? Fear. The word was barely a whisper. I'm afraid of what you might mean to me, Gemma Laurent. Of what I might be willing to sacrifice to keep you safe. Before she could respond, before she could process the magnitude of what he'd just confessed, another vampire appeared in the corridor, one of the guards from the council session. My king, forgive the interruption. We've located Chen. He's holed up in a warehouse on the edge of the human city, protected by at least 20 rogue vampires. Konstantin's demeanor changed instantly, the vulnerable moment evaporating as he became every inch the warrior king. Gather the hunters. We move tonight. There's more, sire. He has human hostages, at least a dozen, maybe more. If we attack directly, he'll kill them. Gemma's heart sank. More innocent people caught in Chen's web just like she'd been. Let me help. Both vampires turned to stare at her. Absolutely not, Konstantin said flatly. I can get inside. Chen doesn't know I escaped prison. He'll think I'm still locked up. I can pose as a buyer, someone interested in his black market blood. Get him to lower his guard. It's too dangerous. People are going to die if you just attack. You said it yourself, he'll kill the hostages. But if I can get inside, distract him, give you an opening. No. The word was absolute, commanding. I won't risk you like that. It's not your choice. We have a deal. You protect me, I help you stop Chen. This is me helping. They stared at each other, wills clashing, and Gemma saw the exact moment he realized she wouldn't back down. Frustration flashed across his features, followed by reluctant admiration. You're going to be the death of me, little mortal. I thought you were immortal. Functionally, yes. But you're testing that theory. He turned to the guard. Tell the hunters we have a new plan. We're going to need human clothing, a wire, and someone who can coach Miss Laurent on how to pass as a black market buyer. 2 hours later, Gemma stood outside a decrepit warehouse wearing jeans, a leather jacket, and an earpiece that connected her directly to Konstantin. Her heart hammered so hard she was sure he could hear it through the device. I'm here, she whispered. Going in now. I'm right behind you. His voice came through steady and reassuring. 20 meters back, invisible to human eyes. At the first sign of trouble, I'm coming for you. Do you understand? Yes, Gemma. His voice softened. Be careful, please. She approached the warehouse door and knocked 3 short raps, 2 long ones exactly as she'd been instructed. A slot opened, eyes peering through. Password, Sanguine Midnight. The words felt ridiculous in her mouth, but they were what Konstantin's people had extracted from a captured rogue. The door opened, and Gemma stepped into hell. The warehouse interior had been converted into a grotesque marketplace. Cages lined the walls, each one containing a human, some unconscious, some crying, all of them terrified. Vampires moved between them like shoppers browsing merchandise, examining the prisoners with clinical detachment. Bile rose in Gemma's throat, but she forced her expression to remain neutral. She'd been coached on how to act cold, businesslike, unaffected by the horror around her. First-time buyer? A vampire approached her, young-looking with spiky black hair and a predatory grin. I was told this was the place for quality merchandise. Depends on what you're looking for. Fresh blood? Specific type? We've got it all. He gestured toward the cages like a proud salesman. I'm interested in bulk purchases, regular shipments. I was told to speak with Chen directly. The vampire's expression sharpened with interest. Big buyer, huh? Yeah, boss is here, follow me. He led her deeper into the warehouse, past more cages, more horror. Gemma's hands clenched into fists, nails digging into her palms. These were people, innocent people stolen from their lives, reduced to products. Stay calm, Konstantin's voice whispered in her ear. I see you. I'm tracking your position. Just a little further. They reached an office area partitioned off with glass walls. Inside, a man in an expensive suit sat behind a desk. Marcus Chen, looking exactly like the business executive she remembered from her old job. Normal human. Monstrous. Mr. Chen, the vampire said. Got a buyer interested in bulk orders. Chen looked up, and his eyes widened as he recognized her. For a split second, pure shock crossed his face. Then it morphed into something uglier, rage mixed with fear. That's Gemma Laurent, he hissed, standing abruptly. She's supposed to be in prison. Gemma didn't wait for him to finish. She turned and ran exactly as planned, drawing Chen's attention and security away from the hostages. Chaos erupted. Vampires lunged for her, but Konstantin was suddenly there, materializing between them like an avenging angel. His movements were too fast to follow, a blur of lethal grace. Vampires flew backward, crashing into cages and walls. Get the hostages out, he roared, and more vampires appeared, his hunters. Loyal soldiers moving with coordinated precision. Chen tried to run, but Konstantin was on him in an instant, slamming him against the wall hard enough to crack concrete. Marcus Chen, you are charged with theft, treason, and crimes against humanity. The Blood Council has sanctioned your execution. Wait, Chen gasped. I can give you names, locations, I'm not the only one. There's a whole network. I know. I've already dismantled it. Your associates are being rounded up as we speak. Konstantin's hand closed around Chen's throat. You have nothing to bargain with. Please. You showed no mercy to your victims, you receive none in return. With a swift motion too quick to fully register, Konstantin snapped Chen's neck. The man crumpled, dead before he hit the ground. The rogue vampires either surrendered or died fighting. Within minutes the warehouse was secured, hostages being led out to safety, chaos settling into order. Gemma stood frozen in the center of it all, shaking with adrenaline and horror and relief. She'd helped. They'd won. But the images of those cages would haunt her forever. Konstantin appeared before her, his hands gentle as they gripped her shoulders. Are you hurt? No. I'm fine. Her voice broke and suddenly she was crying, all the terror and stress of the past months pouring out. He pulled her against his chest and she didn't resist, didn't care that he was a vampire, that he'd just killed a man with his bare hands. He was solid and strong and safe, and she needed that more than she needed air. You were magnificent, he murmured into her hair. Brave and brilliant and absolutely infuriating. Don't ever do that to me again. You're welcome, she managed through tears. They stood like that for a long moment, surrounded by destruction and the aftermath of violence, but somehow finding peace in each other's presence. Take her back to the castle, Konstantin ordered Isolde, who had appeared among the hunters. Make sure she's comfortable, I'll join her once this is cleaned up. Gemma wanted to protest that she didn't need coddling, but exhaustion was crashing over her in waves. She let Isolde guide her through a portal that opened in the air magic she was getting disturbingly used to, and back to the familiar corridors of Konstantin's castle. Back in her chambers, Isolde helped her out of the human clothes and into something soft and comfortable. You did well tonight, the vampire said kindly. The king was terrified for you. I've never seen him so worried. He barely knows me. Sometimes that's when it hits hardest, before you have time to build walls, to protect yourself from caring. Isolde pulled back the bed covers. Sleep now. He'll want to see you when he returns, but you need rest first. Gemma didn't argue. She climbed into bed and was asleep within seconds. She woke to find Konstantin sitting in a chair beside her bed, watching her in the dimness. He'd changed clothes, the battle-worn leather replaced by soft black fabrics, but his hair was still slightly mussed, his expression unguarded. How long have you been there? She asked, her voice rough with sleep. An hour, perhaps. I wanted to make sure you were truly all right. You could have woken me. You needed rest more than you needed conversation. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Chen is dead. His network is destroyed. The hostages have been returned to their homes with false memories implanted. They'll think they were kidnapped by human traffickers, rescued by police. They'll never know about us. Is it over then? Am I free to go? Something flickered in his eyes, pain, quickly masked. Yes. The oath is fulfilled. You're free to return to your life. Your conviction has been overturned, your record cleared. I've arranged for a substantial amount of money to be deposited in your account, compensation for the months you lost. So this is goodbye, if that's what you want. Gemma sat up, pulling her knees to her chest. What do you want? That's not a fair question. Why not? Because what I want is impossible. He stood pacing to the window. You're human, you have a life to return to, a future ahead of you. I'm a vampire bound to this realm, cursed with immortality. There's no future for us, Gemma. There's only prolonged suffering as I watch you age and die while I remain frozen in time. That's your decision to make. He turned, confusion on his face. What are you saying? I'm saying that maybe I should have a choice too. Maybe I should get to decide whether I want to return to my life or... She trailed off, hardly believing what she was about to say. Or explore whatever this is between us. There is nothing between us. There can't be. Liar. She stood, crossing to him. You said you were afraid of what I might mean to you. You sat by my bed for an hour just watching me sleep. You killed for me tonight. Don't tell me there's nothing between us. It's chemistry. Biology. Your blood sings to me, that's all it is. Prove it. What? If it's just biology, just blood, then walk away. Leave right now, and I'll go back to my world and never think of you again. They stared at each other, the air between them crackling with tension. Konstantin's jaw clenched, his hands fisting at his sides. You don't understand what you're asking, then explain it to me. If I start this, if I allow myself to care for you fully, I won't be able to stop. I'll become possessive, obsessive. I'll want you near me always. Want to protect you from every possible harm. I'll count the days and years we have together, knowing each one brings you closer to death. And when you die, I'll be destroyed. I've seen it happen to other vampires who loved mortals. They become shadows of themselves, hollow and broken. I won't survive losing you. So your solution is to never have me at all? To protect yourself from future pain by denying present happiness? Yes, that's exactly my solution. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And I've heard a lot of stupid things. She stepped closer, close enough to feel the cold radiating from him. I could die tomorrow. Car accident, disease, random violence. Human life is fragile, you said it yourself. Would you rather have no time with me or whatever time we can steal? Gemma, I've spent 3 months in hell. I've lost my job, my apartment, my reputation. I have nothing to go back to except starting over from scratch. But here, with you, I feel alive for the first time in months. Maybe the first time ever. Don't I deserve to chase that feeling? Don't we both? His control was cracking, she could see it. His eyes had darkened to deep crimson, his breathing faster despite not needing to breathe. If I kiss you, I won't stop. Then don't stop. The space between them disappeared. His mouth claimed hers with a hunger that should have frightened her but instead set her blood on fire. His arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her flush against him, and the cold of his body contrasted with the heat of her own in a way that made her gasp. He kissed like a man starving, like he'd been waiting centuries for this moment. His hands tangled in her hair, tilted her head to deepen the kiss, and Gemma melted into him. She'd been kissed before, but never like this, never with such intensity, such desperate need. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Konstantin rested his forehead against hers. This is madness, maybe. But it's our madness. I'm going to fall in love with you, he warned, completely, utterly, irrevocably, and it's going to destroy me when I lose you. Then we'll just have to make sure the time we have is worth the pain. He laughed, the sound broken and beautiful. How did I ever think I could resist you? Because you're an idiot, a 700-year-old idiot, the worst kind. He kissed her again, softer this time, tender. Stay, he murmured against her lips. Not because of an oath or a bargain. Stay because you want to. Stay with me for how long? As long as you'll allow me. A week, a month, a year. Whatever time you're willing to give me, I'll treasure it. Gemma pulled back enough to look into his eyes, those impossible red eyes that had terrified her when they first met but now seemed beautiful. I'll stay, but I want to see both worlds, yours and mine. I want to figure out how to build a life that spans both. That's dangerous. The more time you spend here, the more you'll be drawn into our politics, our conflicts. I just helped take down a criminal vampire network. I think I'm already pretty involved. Fair point. He brushed a strand of hair from her face, his touch reverent. We'll figure it out together. I'll keep you safe, show you everything. Teach you about my world, learn about yours, build something new. Is that a promise? It's a vow, more binding than the blood oath we made before. His thumb traced her lower lip. I swear to you, Gemma Laurent, that I will protect you, cherish you, love you for as long as you'll let me. I will fight heaven and hell to keep you safe. I will give you everything I am and everything I have. This is my oath, freely given. Tears pricked her eyes. That's the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me. I've had 700 years to perfect my romantic speeches. Show off. He grinned and she realized it was the first time she'd seen him look truly happy. Come, there's something I want to show you. He led her through the castle to a tower she hadn't visited before. They climbed spiral stairs that seemed to go on forever, until finally they emerged onto a balcony that overlooked the entire Shadow Vale. The realm stretched out before them in impossible beauty, cities of crystal and shadow, forests that glowed with bioluminescent light, mountains that touched the swirling sky, and above it all the stars moved in their strange patterns, painting trails of light across the darkness. This is my kingdom, Konstantin said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. For 700 years I've ruled it alone. But now, he paused, his lips brushing her ear. Now I want to share it with you, if you'll let me. Gemma leaned back against his chest, feeling safe despite the height, despite the impossibility of everything. I'll let you. But I have one condition. Name it. Teach me to dance, he went still. Dance? You're a 700-year-old vampire king. You must know how to dance. And I've always wanted to learn, but I never had the time or the partner. She turned in his arms. Dance with me. There's no music. There's always music. You just have to listen for it. Something shifted in his expression, wonder mixed with adoration. Without another word, he took her hand and began to move, guiding her through steps she didn't know but somehow could follow. He was right about there being no music, but somehow it didn't matter. They moved together on the balcony, under the impossible sky, creating their own rhythm. You're a natural, he murmured. I have a good teacher. They danced until the sky began to change, the deep purples giving way to slightly lighter shades that suggested dawn in whatever form it took here. Konstantin slowed, pulling her close. The sun rises differently here, he said softly, but it does weaken us. I'll need to rest soon. Then rest. I'll be here when you wake. Will you? The question held vulnerability, fear that she might change her mind, might disappear while he slept. I promise. They returned to her chambers, or perhaps they were their chambers now, she wasn't sure. Konstantin lay on the bed and Gemma curled up beside him, her head on his chest. This is strange, she said. You don't have a heartbeat, does it bother you? No, just different. She traced patterns on his shirt. Tell me something about yourself, something you've never told anyone. He was quiet for a long moment. When I was human, before I was turned, I wanted to be a musician. I played the violin not very well, but I loved it. After my transformation, my first master destroyed my violin, said music was for the weak. I haven't played since. That's sad, it's the past. I've learned to let go of who I was. Maybe you shouldn't. Maybe that part of you is worth remembering. He pressed a kiss to the top of her head. You make me want to remember. You make me want to be more than just a king, more than just a monster. You were never just a monster. To many I am. I've killed thousands, Gemma. I've done terrible things in the name of order and peace. I'm not a good man, maybe not. But you're a good king, and I think maybe you could be a good partner too. I'll try. For you, I'll try to be worthy. They lay together as dawn settled over the shadow veil, Konstantin's eyes growing heavy with the pull of day's sleep. Gemma watched him slip into unconsciousness, his features softening, looking almost human in his vulnerability. She'd bargained her freedom for information that would stop a criminal. She'd danced with a vampire king under an impossible sky. She'd chosen to stay in a world of monsters and magic rather than return to the mundane reality of her old life. And somehow, impossibly, she was happy. The days that followed fell into a rhythm. Konstantin would sleep during what passed for daylight hours, and Gemma would explore the castle, learning its secrets, meeting the vampires who served her king. Isolde became a friend, teaching her about vampire culture, translating the ancient customs that governed this strange society. At night, Konstantin was hers. They would walk through his realm, and he would show her wonders markets where vampires traded in magic and memories, libraries containing books from civilizations that predated recorded history, fighting arenas where vampires tested their skills in combat that looked like lethal ballet, and always they would return to their chambers and dance. It became their ritual. No matter what else happened during the night, before dawn they would find space and silence and move together, creating patterns that belonged only to them. Why dancing, she asked one night as he spun her under his arm. Why is this so important to you? Because it's the one thing we do that isn't about vampire politics or human-vampire relations or the weight of responsibility, he answered. When we dance, we're just Konstantin and Gemma, just two people who found something precious in each other. I love you, she said suddenly, surprising herself. He stopped moving, standing frozen in the middle of the floor. What? I love you. I know it's fast, I know it's insane, but I do. I love your strength and your vulnerability, your arrogance and your kindness. I love the way you try to protect me while respecting my choices. I love that you see me as an equal even though I'm mortal and fragile. I love you. His eyes gleamed suspiciously bright. I've waited 700 years to hear those words and mean them back. I love you, Gemma Laurent. I love you with everything I am and everything I'll ever be. He kissed her then, and it felt like a promise. Like a beginning rather than a countdown to an ending, but reality, as it always does, intruded. A week after Chen's death, Konstantin was summoned to a gathering of the vampire courts, a meeting of kings and queens from around the world, called to discuss the implications of the black market blood network and how to prevent such things in the future. I have to go, he told Gemma, regret clear in his voice. It will take several days, maybe a week. Take me with you. I can't. These gatherings are contentious, dangerous. Vampires from different courts don't always get along. Violence is common. I won't risk you in that environment. So I'm supposed to just sit here and wait? It's not about control, it's about keeping you alive. He cupped her face in his hands. Please understand. If something happened to you because I was too busy navigating court politics to protect you, I'd never forgive myself. She wanted to argue, but she saw the genuine fear in his eyes. Okay. But you come back to me. Promise. I promise. Nothing in this world or any other could keep me from you. He kissed her goodbye, and Gemma watched from the balcony as he departed, surrounded by his honor guard. The castle felt emptier without him, colder. Isolde tried to keep her company, teaching her vampire history, helping her practice the language that vampires used for formal occasions. But Gemma felt his absence like a physical ache. On the third night, something changed. Gemma woke from a nightmare, gasping and disoriented. In her dream, Konstantin had been in pain, calling for her, but she couldn't reach him. She tried to convince herself it was just anxiety, just her mind playing tricks, but then Isolde burst into her chambers, fear on her face. Something's wrong. I can feel it through the court bonds. The king is in danger. What kind of danger? I don't know. The bonds are confused, chaotic, but he needs help. Gemma was out of bed before Isolde finished speaking. Take me to him. I can't. I don't know where he is. And even if I did, I'm not strong enough to portal that far. Then find someone who is now. 20 minutes later, Gemma stood before Draven, the scarred vampire from the Blood Council. He looked skeptical. You want me to take you to the gathering? A human? That's suicide. Konstantin is in trouble. I have to help him. What can you possibly do that 100 vampire warriors can't? I don't know, but I have to try. Draven studied her for a long moment. You really love him, don't you? This isn't some temporary infatuation. I'd die for him if I had to, but I'd rather live with him. Please. Something in her words must have resonated because Draven nodded slowly. If you get killed, the king will destroy me. But if something's happened to him and I didn't help, he extended his hand. Come, we'll go together. But you stay behind me and follow my orders exactly. Understood? Understood. The portal opened and they stepped through into chaos. The gathering was held in an ancient castle that made Konstantin's look modern. But the grand hall where the meeting should have been taking place was a battlefield. Vampires fought vampires, blood splattered across priceless tapestries, bodies littered the floor. What happened? Gemma gasped. Coup attempt, Draven growled. Someone's trying to overthrow the kings. Where is Konstantin? They found him in the center of the hall, surrounded by enemies, fighting with lethal grace despite obvious injuries. His white shirt was torn and stained with blood, his movements slightly slower than they should be. We have to help him, Gemma said. I am helping him. Draven launched himself into the fray, cutting through enemies with brutal efficiency. But more vampires kept coming, and Gemma realized with horror that they weren't just attacking Konstantin, they were trying to capture him. To take him alive. She spotted a vampire hanging back from the fight, directing the others. He was older looking than most, with scars that suggested ancient battles, and he held something in his hand that glowed with sickly green light, a weapon, something magical. Without thinking, Gemma grabbed a fallen sword awkward and heavy in her untrained hands and charged. The vampire saw her coming, but he dismissed her as a threat, a mistake. She swung the sword with all her strength, not at him but at the glowing object in his hand. The blade connected, and the object shattered. The explosion of green light threw her backward, pain searing through her body. But she heard a triumphant roar from the center of the hall. Konstantin, freed from whatever magic had been weakening him, moved like death incarnate. The vampires who had surrounded him fell like wheat before a scythe. Within seconds, the coup attempt was over, the hall filled with the victors of Konstantin's faction. Then he was beside her, gathering her into his arms, his face twisted with fear and fury. What were you thinking? You could have been killed. You were in trouble. I couldn't just, she coughed, tasting blood. I couldn't let them take you. Stubborn, reckless, beautiful fool. He cradled her against his chest. You're hurt, that magic touched you. Is it bad? I don't know. We need to get you back to the castle now. The journey back was a blur of pain and Konstantin's voice murmuring reassurances. When they arrived at the castle, healers swarmed vampire doctors who dealt with the rare occasions when vampires were injured, now frantically trying to treat a human exposed to dark magic. Will she live? Konstantin demanded, hovering over them. We're doing everything we can. Sire, one of the healers said. But this magic is designed to kill vampires. In a human, the effects are unpredictable. Fix her, I don't care what it costs. Fix her. Hours passed. Gemma drifted in and out of consciousness, aware of Konstantin's presence beside her, his hand gripping hers like a lifeline. Finally, one of the healers approached him. We've stabilized her. But my king, the magic has changed her. It's rewritten parts of her biology. She's not fully human anymore. Konstantin went still. What do you mean? She's not a vampire, but she's not mortal either. The magic has given her longevity, strength, senses beyond human norm. She'll age much slower now, live for centuries if not longer. Silence filled the chamber. Then Gemma, her voice weak but clear, said, So you're stuck with me for a while longer. Konstantin's head whipped toward her, and the relief on his face was almost painful to witness. He crushed her in an embrace, careful of her injuries but unable to maintain distance. You idiotic, brave, perfect woman. Don't ever scare me like that again. No promises. You seem to attract trouble. I attract trouble? You charged a hostile vampire with a sword you'd never held before. It worked, didn't it? He pulled back, cupping her face in his hands. You saved my life. They had me trapped with that magical artifact, draining my strength. If you hadn't destroyed it. He shook his head. I owe you everything. You don't owe me anything. That's not how love works. Then let me rephrase. I am grateful beyond measure that you exist, that you came for me, that I get to keep you for centuries instead of mere decades. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips with infinite gentleness. I thought I would have to watch you age and die. Now we have time. So much time. What are we going to do with all that time? Everything, anything, whatever you want. He settled onto the bed beside her, pulling her carefully against his side. We'll figure out how to balance your life in the human world with time here. You can go back to school if you want. Start a new career. I'll support whatever you choose, and you'll come with me to the human world? As much as I can. I have responsibilities here, but I'll make time. For you, I'll always make time. Gemma snuggled closer, ignoring the protests of her healing body. I want to learn more about vampire culture. Really learn it, not just surface observations. If I'm going to be part of your life, I want to understand your world. I'll teach you everything. Languages, history, politics, combat. You'll be the most knowledgeable human or former human in existence. Former human. That sounds so strange. Are you upset about the changes? She considered the question seriously. No, a little scared maybe, but not upset. It means we get more time together. How could I be upset about that? Relief softened his features. I love you. Have I mentioned that recently? Not in the past hour. You're slacking. I love you. I love you. I love you. He punctuated each declaration with a kiss. How's that? Better. They lay together as she healed, Konstantin refusing to leave her side even when council business called for his attention. Isolde brought him reports and documents, and Gemma watched him work, fascinated by the complexity of ruling a vampire kingdom. You're staring, he said without looking up from a particularly dense treaty document. You're interesting when you're being all kingly. I'm always interesting and modest. He set aside the document, turning to face her fully. I've been thinking. About us, about the future. That sounds ominous. Not ominous, just significant. He took her hand, threading his fingers through hers. In vampire culture, when two people commit to each other permanently, they perform a bonding ceremony. It's more than marriage, it's a magical connection that links them on a fundamental level. They can feel each other's emotions, find each other anywhere, draw strength from each other. Gemma's heart began to race. Are you asking me to marry you? I'm asking you to bond with me. To be my partner in all things, my equal, my love for as long as we both exist. His red eyes held hers with burning intensity. I'm asking you to be my queen, Gemma, to rule beside me, to help me build a better world for both vampires and humans, to share eternity with me. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Yes, yes to all of it. Yes. His smile was radiant, transforming his face into something almost ethereal in its beauty. You've made me happier than I thought possible. When? When can we do the ceremony? As soon as you're healed. We'll need to prepare. It's a major event. All the courts will want to attend. But if you'd rather keep it small, no, I want everyone to witness it. I want the whole world to know that I'm yours and you're mine. Possessive. I like it. She laughed, pulling him down for a kiss. I learned from the best. The next weeks were a flurry of preparation. Gemma healed quickly, her new biology accelerating the process, and threw herself into learning everything she could about the bonding ceremony. Isolde was invaluable, teaching her the vows she would need to speak in the ancient vampire tongue, helping her choose a dress that would represent both her human heritage and her new place in vampire society. The dress they finally selected was breathtaking white silk that flowed like water, embroidered with silver thread in patterns that mimicked constellations. It managed to be both elegant and dramatic, perfect for a vampire queen. Konstantin was equally busy, extending invitations to vampire courts around the world, preparing the grand hall for a ceremony that would be witnessed by thousands. But every night, no matter how busy he was, he made time to dance with her. Nervous? He asked one night as they moved together, practicing the ceremonial dance they would perform during the bonding. Terrified, excited. All of it at once. I'm told that's normal for brides, even vampire ones. Will it hurt? The bonding magic? No. It feels like falling and flying at the same time. Like finding a piece of yourself you didn't know was missing. His hand tightened on her waist. But there's something you should know. Once we're bonded, if one of us dies, the other will feel it, will be damaged by it. Some bonded vampires don't survive losing their partner. That's terrifying. Yes. But it's also beautiful. It means we'll never truly be apart. Even if separated by distance or circumstance, we'll always have that connection. I want that. I want to be connected to you in every possible way. Then you'll have it. In 3 days, you'll be mine in every way that matters. The day of the ceremony arrived faster than Gemma expected. She woke early, her stomach churning with a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. Isolde appeared with breakfast and a knowing smile. The king has been pacing outside your door for an hour, she said. I told him it was bad luck to see you before the ceremony, but I don't think he cares about human superstitions. Let him in." Konstantin entered, looking slightly sheepish. He was already dressed for the ceremony, all in black with silver accents that made his pale hair and skin seem to glow. He looked like something out of a dark fairy tale, beautiful and dangerous in hers. "I know I'm not supposed to be here," he said, "but I needed to see you, to make sure you're all right, that you're not having second thoughts." Gemma crossed to him, taking his face in her hands. "I've never been more certain of anything in my life. Tonight I become yours. No second thoughts, no doubts." He released a breath he probably didn't need. "I don't deserve you. Probably not. Good thing I'm choosing you anyway." He kissed her softly, carefully, mindful of the preparations still to come. "I'll see you in the grand hall at sunset. Don't be late. Wouldn't dream of it." He left, and Isolde helped her into the dress, arranging her hair into an elaborate style that incorporated small crystals that caught the light. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. The woman staring back looked regal, powerful, ready to stand beside a king. "You're beautiful," Isolde said softly. "He's going to forget how to breathe when he sees you." "He doesn't need to breathe." "Fair point. He's still going to be stunned." As sunset approached, Isolde led her through the castle to the grand hall. The corridors were lined with vampires, all of them bowing as she passed, acknowledging her new status. It was overwhelming and thrilling and absolutely surreal. The doors to the grand hall opened, and Gemma's breath caught. The space had been transformed into something out of a dream. Thousands of candles floated in the air, casting dancing shadows on walls draped with black silk and silver embroidery. Vampires filled the tiered seating, all of them in formal attire, all of them watching her with expressions ranging from curiosity to approval to barely concealed jealousy. And at the center of it all, standing before an altar carved from moonstone, was Konstantin. He watched her approach with an expression of awe, and she saw his throat work as he swallowed. When she reached him, he took her hands in his, and she felt them trembling slightly. "You're shaking," she whispered. 700 years I've lived, and this is the moment that unmans me." His voice was rough with emotion. "You're perfect, absolutely perfect." The ceremony began, conducted by an ancient vampire whose white robes and ceremonial tattoos marked him as a high priest of sorts. He spoke in the old language, and Gemma was grateful for the weeks of study that allowed her to understand. The vows were beautiful and binding. They spoke of partnership and loyalty, of love that transcended mortality, of souls intertwined across eternity. When it came time for Gemma to speak, she delivered her vows in flawless ancient tongue, and she saw pride flash in Konstantin's eyes. Then came the binding itself. The priest presented a ceremonial dagger, silver with a blade that seemed to glow with inner light. Konstantin took it, making a small cut across his palm, then handed it to Gemma. She did the same, feeling only a sting. They pressed their palms together, blood mixing, and the priest began to chant. Magic exploded through the hall, visible as streams of silver light that wrapped around them both. Gemma gasped as she felt it entering her, weaving through her being, connecting her to Konstantin in ways she couldn't fully comprehend. She felt his emotions, his love, his joy, his overwhelming relief that she was really his. And she knew he felt hers too. When the magic settled, they were no longer two separate beings but two parts of a whole. "I declare before all assembled," the priest intoned, "that Konstantin Vladislavovich, king of the northern courts, and Gemma Laurent are bonded, united as one for all eternity. Let no force in this world or any other separate what has been joined here tonight." The hall erupted in cheers and applause, vampires celebrating the union of their king. Konstantin pulled her close, kissing her deeply, not caring about the audience. When they finally broke apart, he whispered against her lips, "My queen, my love, my everything." "Forever," she promised. Forever. They turned to face their people together, hand in hand, and Gemma felt power thrumming through her, not just her own, but Konstantin's as well, shared through their bond. She was no longer just a human who had stumbled into a vampire world. She was a queen with all the responsibility and privilege that entailed. The celebration that followed lasted until dawn. Vampires from every court came to offer congratulations and gifts, to swear loyalty to their new queen. Gemma handled it with grace that surprised even herself, drawing on Konstantin's strength through their bond when she felt overwhelmed. They danced, of course they danced. Not just the ceremonial dance they'd practiced, but waltz after waltz, moving together as if they'd been doing it for centuries. Other couples joined them on the floor, and the grand hall became a swirl of motion and music. As the first hints of dawn approached, Konstantin led her from the celebration to their private chambers, not just hers anymore, but theirs. The room had been redecorated, now clearly belonging to both of them. "Alone at last," he murmured, closing the door behind them. Your people are very enthusiastic. They're happy. A bonded king is a stable king, and stability means peace. Plus, they genuinely like you. You've charmed them. I haven't done anything special. You've shown them that humans and vampires can be partners, not just predator and prey. You've given them hope for a different kind of future. He pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. You've given me hope too. For the first time in centuries, I'm excited about the future instead of just enduring it. I love you, she said simply. I love you. He kissed her softly. I'm going to love you through centuries, through whatever challenges come. I'm going to dance with you every night until the stars burn out. That's a lot of dancing. I'm very committed. She laughed, and the sound was pure joy. They stood together as dawn broke over the shadow veil, the sky shifting through its strange colors. Konstantin would need to sleep soon, but not yet, not quite yet. I have something for you, he said, reaching into his pocket. He pulled out a small box, opening it to reveal a ring simple silver with a blood-red stone that seemed to pulse with inner light. A bonding gift. It's traditional, it's beautiful, it's practical too. The stone is linked to me. If you're ever in danger and I'm not nearby, touch it and call for me. I'll feel it through our bond and come for you immediately. He slipped it onto her finger. You're my queen, but you're also still learning our world. I want you to feel safe. I feel safe with you. Always. Good. He yawned, the pull of day sleep becoming irresistible. I need to sleep. Stay with me? Always. They lay together. Gemma curled against Konstantin's side, his arm wrapped around her protectively even in sleep. Through their bond, she felt his consciousness dimming as the sun rose, felt his trust that she would be there when he woke. She watched him sleep for a while, marveling at the journey that had brought her here. Months ago, she'd been a prisoner with no hope. Now she was a queen with a future spanning centuries, bonded to a king who loved her with the intensity of 700 years of loneliness finally ended. Thank you, she whispered to the sleeping vampire beside her, for seeing me, for choosing me, for giving me a reason to believe in happy endings. He didn't wake, couldn't hear her, but she felt warmth through their bond, his sleeping mind responding to her emotion, reassuring her even in unconsciousness. Gemma closed her eyes and let herself drift off, safe in the knowledge that she was exactly where she belonged. When she woke, it was evening, and Konstantin was already awake, watching her with soft eyes. Hello, my queen, he murmured. Hello, my king. I've been thinking about our future. All the things I want to show you, teach you, experience with you. Tell me. I want to take you to every corner of the Shadow Vale, show you ancient ruins and modern vampire cities. I want to teach you to fight so you can defend yourself. I want to introduce you to vampire magic, see if you have an aptitude for it. I want to watch you come into your power as queen, see you shape policy and change lives. He brushed his fingers along her cheek. I want to grow old with you, not literally, since we won't age, but metaphorically. I want to collect centuries of memories, inside jokes, shared experiences. I want to dance with you every single night until the end of time. That sounds perfect. It won't always be easy. There will be challenges, vampires who resent a human turned other as queen. Threats from rogues who don't accept our authority. The constant balancing act between your world and mine. But we'll face it all together. Together, she agreed. That's all I need. They rose, preparing for another night, their first as bonded partners, as king and queen. There would be meetings to attend, decisions to make, a kingdom to rule. But before any of that, before the responsibilities and challenges, Konstantin held out his hand. One dance before we face the world? Gemma smiled and took his hand. Always. They moved together in the privacy of their chambers. No music but the rhythm of their hearts, hers beating, his silent, and the magic thrumming through their bond. It wasn't the grand waltz of the ceremony or the practiced steps they'd perfected. It was just them, moving together, existing in perfect harmony. I want this, Gemma said softly. Every night forever, just like this, then you'll have it. I'll dance with you until dawn and beyond. I'll dance with you through centuries, through joy and sorrow, through peace and conflict. He pulled her closer. I'll dance with you until the universe ends and begins again, and I'll never stop being grateful that you stayed. You asked me to stay, and you said yes. Best decision I ever made, asking. Best decision you ever made, agreeing. They swayed together, lost in each other, as night deepened over the Shadow Vale. Outside their chambers, a kingdom waited for its rulers. Courts needed managing, treaties needed signing, a future needed building. But in that moment, none of it mattered. There was only Konstantin and Gemma, vampire king and his human-turned immortal queen, bound by blood and magic and love. The journey that had started with a desperate bargain in a prison had led to this, not an ending but a beginning. A partnership that would span centuries. A love that would defy everything that said it was impossible. I love you, Konstantin whispered, his lips brushing her forehead. I love you, Gemma replied, feeling the truth of it resonate through their bond. And they danced, as they would dance every night for eternity, two souls intertwined, creating their own music in the darkness, building a life that was theirs alone. The world beyond their chambers could wait a little longer. For now there was only this, the gentle sway of movement, the warmth of connection, the promise of forever. Konstantin had asked her to stay, and she had. She'd stayed through danger and magic, through transformation and love. She'd stayed and found a home she never knew she was searching for. And now, bonded and bound, crowned and loved, Gemma knew with absolute certainty that she would keep staying, not because of an oath or a bargain, but because there was nowhere else in any world she would rather be. Forever, she whispered. Forever, he echoed. And somewhere in the distance, as if in blessing, the strange stars of the Shadow Veil began to sing.